Okay, so before I get into some of the numbers, I thought it's best to pause and consider how we're defining the so-called humanitarian system. And I think that term itself can be contentious, and there are many people who would react by saying, what system, and such a thing doesn't exist. And truly, if you look at what we have in terms of international response to emergencies, it could justly be described as a sort of anarchy overlaid with a thin layer of coordination, linking, essentially autonomous actors. I think that's true, but we also feel that there is a definable system in there, obviously, or we wouldn't have undertaken the exercise. Now, in the report, we take the definition of a system as a group of interacting, interrelated, or interdependent elements forming a complex whole, which is directed at broadly shared goals. So we're not saying that the core actors, as we define them, don't have their own organizational objectives and interests, but their overarching goals and core values are the same, and that is to save lives and reduce suffering through the provision of assistance, and which are also interdependent on one another in various ways and to varying degrees. So we have defined our core actors as the operational agencies and donors, the providers and implementers you see listed there, and their counterparts in host governments, all of whom are linked in some formal way to each other through grant agreements or partnerships or within coordination or informational mechanisms in the field. So in this way, we've delineated, we think, those humanitarian actors who have humanitarian assistance as their primary mission and who cooperate with each other in recognition of the fact that their individual impact as one organization is quite small and that they achieve better outcomes by working together. Now, of course, there are other humanitarian actors who make important, even critical contributions to humanitarian response. They include national militaries, diaspora groups, private sector actors, including contractors. But their main missions are different. The formal links and the interdependency is not there. So while we discuss them in the report, they are not considered the core components of the system. So that's the short version of our concept of the humanitarian system, and I'm sure many would like to challenge us on that. And we do say in the report that there's no single correct definition, but we found this one to have the most utility in terms of being able to measure it as a subject of analysis, and also in terms of the types of policy and practice issues that we hope this report would inform